Next one, this one's Pravin. Says, hi, Pravin, I'm from India. I'm currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in visual effects throughout the first and second years of... I dedicated my exploring various aspects of 3D except animation. In my final semester, I chose to specialize as a character and creator artist with the goals of working in the film industry as an artist. I have compiled my work and would love to see your feedback. Let's take a look. Pravin. You're welcome, Vlad. You're welcome. And hey, thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you. Okay, Pravin. Nice. So, first impression that I get from your portfolio, Pravin, is that we are a little bit incomplete. What do I mean by this? They look like studies. This is the one that looks the most finished. This looks like a sculpture, but let's take a look at them. CG double, work in progress. Yeah. I have a personal philosophy that I don't like to include works in progress on my portfolio. Some people use their portfolios sort of like their blog spots where they will like update stuff. Blogspot, that's an old stuff. A lot of you guys might not even remember those things, but back in the day when the internet was relatively new, at least in like the maybe early, late 2000s, people would use blogs and they would just like update them. It was kind of like the feeds in Facebook, right? So this looks like that. This looks like an exercise that you were working on. It's that's a nice reference right there. Nice modeling. I'm not sure if you did like a 3D scan or something, or if you just projected the textures, which is great. Like, these textures are amazing, man. If you can extract some of the bump information and the height information, you're gonna get some really, really nice like a color variation. Look at the variation on the tones as well on the skin. That's great. Yes, you're gonna have to fix some of the elements that were not fixed, but unfortunately, this looks like an exercise and a project that you're working to learn this particular pipeline, not a finished product. Okay. Then we have this one right here, Okun statue. Again, another work in progress. The cloth looks nice. Oh, I'm going to show you something important with the cloth. And this is interesting because I actually, this is, you guys know what this says, right? Always learning, always improving. I'm constantly learning as well. Sometimes from tutorials, sometimes from research, sometimes on my own, and sometimes from teachers. I have my teachers as well. And I learn from like people who are ahead of me in their career. And they tell me, clients, right? Feedback, directors, all of them, they will teach you stuff. So never drop that like magic spark of being a student and learning stuff. So teacher of mine, not so long ago, he mentioned that a very common mistake is this. When we're building things like the cloth, right, we tend to make things too uniform. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to be comfortable in playing with the shapes. Maybe one big one, and then a small one, and then a little bit of a medium one, right? And then on the other side, another big one right here. And by doing that, we're going to generate something that looks a little bit more interesting and not as obvious or repetitive as what we do. Okay, this is something that I mentioned frequently when we're doing sculpting, but it clicked when he explained this to me, because it meant that the 3-2-1 that I always mention, primary forms, secondary forms, tertiary forms, that applies to everything. Primary shapes, secondary shapes, tertiary shapes, primary details, secondary details, tertiary details. So you can always play with those sort of like a range of elements to generate a little bit more variation that's going to make, in this case, the character look a little bit more interesting, right? So for instance, we can remove like a whole piece right here. It's going to make him asymmetrical as well, right? And look at how much it changes. It's such a simple change, right? Silhouette-wise, it's such a simple change, but it really makes it so that it looks way more interesting. So always think about that kind of stuff, okay? Now, the only problem, or not the only problem, but one of the problems that they see with this one, man, is that we're definitely missing a little bit more, what's the word? We're missing a little bit more work on this one, okay? Anatomy. I always mention that anatomy is very important. This does look like a stone statue or something, but even on a stone statue, I would expect to see the proper forms of anatomy being present. So here, we're going to have the deltoid, or sorry, the trapezius muscle. It's going to push out to generate the deltoid. I'm stylizing this, of course, a little bit to explain this properly. So that's going to be like the deltoid right there. And then over here, we're going to see a little bit of the tricep, and then we're going to go into the elbow, okay? And on the front, here's where the bicep is going to be, going into the armpit, and the pectoral muscle, the clavicles, right? So we're missing a little bit of this definition to really give form and really give strength to the character. If we don't add that kind of stuff, our forms are going to look lumpy, right? Like this right now, this looks lumpy. This looks like just like not interesting enough. And remember, we need to, so like following the Bridgman principle, we need to accentuate some of these elements so that we have really intense lines when we're building a character. Okay, so Go brush up on your anatomy, man, because we definitely need to make this thing look a little bit sharper in general. And finally, you have one more piece right here, which is this one. This one's definitely looking better. I like the arms. I like the hand. I wouldn't go and pose the character like you're doing here just for this sort of like presentation. Just wait until the end. Wait until you finish the whole thing. And once the whole thing is finished, you can showcase the result. Okay? That's a good construction. There's a couple of anatomy things that I would definitely modify or fix, but in general, it's a lot better than the previous one. That's a good reference right there, and he's definitely stylized and chunky. Oh, that weapon is so good, man. I'm gonna steal that concept from you. That's a great weapon. That's a very, very cool concept. So make sure to hit the planes of the concept, man, because I can see that there's a lot of like very interesting sharp effects there on the element. So you definitely want to increase that like a sharpness on the stone itself, okay? But yeah, this is a potentially good project, Pravin, but I need to see finished works. If I'm not seeing finished works as a recruiter, right, as a director, it's going to be very difficult for me to trust that you can finish. Here's one thing that a lot of people don't understand about portfolios. Let me go full screen here. Portfolios are a presentation letter from you to the world, right? Like it's you saying, hey, this is me, and this is my art. But here's the interesting thing. Portfolios will not only show the technical skills that you have, how you present your portfolios, the pieces that you pick, how you talk about your pieces, whether the pieces are finished or not. All of these things will also tell or paint a picture of who you are as an artist. So if you have a lot of unfinished pictures or unfinished projects, if most of the stuff looks like you didn't put enough attention maybe on the presentation, it might show that you are not committed to finishing the thing until the very end, okay? If a lot of the stuff just shows one specific thing, one specific type of assets, then that tells me that you only like to do that and you might not have skills in other parts of the pipeline or doing other kinds of elements. So it's always a good idea to try to be as subjective as possible when watching your portfolio and see and ask yourself, what are they getting from my portfolio? What does it show for me? Or rather, what does this show? How does this paint me as an artist, right? Because if you start seeing your weaknesses, you as an artist will be able to fix those weaknesses in your portfolio with your next pieces, and then you're gonna paint a more complete picture of who you are as an artist. Make sure you remember this, guys, because again, it's your presentation letter to the world, and if you don't pay attention and you're not respectful to your portfolio, no one else will, okay? Let's see. Let's go back here. Is it okay to model a concept that some guy has already done in 3D? Oh, that's a great question, Aaron. I personally, here's the thing. If I look, again, like character, concept, art. Well, I know we're going to get some AI stuff, but like this one right here. When you Google character concept art, this is one of the first characters that comes up. This like, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's like a Native American. No, it's not Native American. I don't know. This guy right here. So I've seen so many versions of this guy. And because it's the first like result on the main page, a lot of people will get this because it's a very clean concept. It's relatively easy, doesn't have a lot of stuff, so a lot of people will do that. I would always try to avoid doing a concept that someone else already did, because then you're competed against that person as well. And again, if people have seen this concept many times, it's going to be more difficult. Let me show you a little hack to get some very, very interesting concepts. So the first thing is, of course, ArtStation. So if you go to ArtStation, and you find a concept that you really like this one right here. This looks very, very nice, right? If it's relatively new, posted 2 days ago, then the chances that someone has done it are low. It's your time to jump and do it first, because that's going to give you a little bit of an edge. But if not, just jump into the artist page, and you're going to see other concepts that might be interesting, like this frog monk right here. This is so cool, right? This is a very, very cool character. It has a lot of information, a lot of study going around. I'm actually going to download this, because that's like a very, very cool character, and you could use this one, okay, for yourself. So it's always a good idea to look into the artist and see if they have other concepts that might have not gotten as much recognition at their time, and then you just go from there. But here's another one. If you go here to the challenges, ArtStation does challenges every now and then. And every now and then, you're going to find some really cool stuff as well, because what they do is they always open a challenge, like let's say this one, Untamed When Animals Rule the World. They always do a challenge for design and then a challenge for like 3D. And on the design challenge, you're gonna find a lot of people who are doing very, very cool concepts. And usually in the design challenge, they ask you to do multiple versions of the character. Look at how many different variations are here. And the artists maybe never like posted individual shots on their portfolio, but you're gonna be able to find really cool characters that you could use. And these ones you're not gonna find as easily in Google. So I personally like to go to the challenges and maybe not look at the winners only, go to the honorable mentions or someone who had a good idea but maybe didn't finish the full render, and you're gonna find cool stuff. Okay, so yeah, I always prefer to do an original concept rather than doing something that everyone else has done. A fan art every now and then is not bad either, like we're doing Mighty Thor, right, on some of the streams. That's not an original character, so every now and then it's fine, but that's a good way to get more information. Let's see. I'd like to think that sometimes if you're able to make stuff professionals has already made, you're demonstrating you have those skills professional. Yes, Jujusen. But here's the thing. When someone has already done a project and you want to do the exact same project, you have to make sure that you either match the project level that they have or surpass it. And my question is, if you have been doing 3D for 3 years and the person that did the project was doing 3D for 10 years at that point, do you feel confident enough that you're going to at least match that level or even surpass it? Because I would say 95% of the times it's going to be very difficult and yours is going to be lower. And then when people see it, they're going to be like, oh yeah, but this other artist already did it and it's better. It's not bad, but this one's better. And that's like something you probably don't want people to say about your work, right? So yeah. You think it's okay to use someone's concept for 3D, crediting them, of course, but not asking? Yeah, you can. It's sort of like an unspoken rule for concept artists that their concepts might be used for stuff. Usually, again, if it's not commercial work, you fall under this sort of like fair use stuff. It's always a good etiquette to try to contact them and see if they're okay with you using them. For instance, you guys remember the axe, right, from the Blender course? I contacted the artist and told her, hey, I want to do a tutorial. I am going to be selling this tutorial, but I want to use your concept art because it's a very good, like, a concept, the lava axe. And she was, like, perfectly fine with it. Same with the Oni course. I contacted the person and says, like, hey, I want to do a ZBrush course. It's going to be a paid course that people are going to be, like, learning from, but I want to use your concept because it's very cool and it's very, sort of, like, clean. Can I use it? And they were okay with this. I've contacted artists and said the exact same thing, and they're like, no, I don't want you to do it. And they tell me sometimes, if you're gonna use it for your personal portfolio, that's fine, but I don't want you making tutorials with it. It's like, okay, fair enough, and you just back away and look for another option. Okay, so yeah, that would be my advice for you, Pravin.